All right, welcome back. The world is increasingly turning its back on fossil fuels. And the next company to enter this stage was founded only 6 years ago and now employs around 4,000 people. Early on, they announced their plan, which is to enable the future of energy by developing the world's greenest battery cell. They're here today to tell us more about their exciting journey so far, so please give a warm welcome to Peter Blomquist from Northvolt.
Thank you very much, Anna. Peter Blomquist is my name, as already mentioned, and I am working with sales and business development at Northvolt. I've been with the company for a bit over 4 years, so it's been a really exciting journey. When I started, we were around 100 people. Today, we are close to 4,000, so it's been an exponential growth here the last couple of years. I will, during these next 15-20 minutes, talk a little bit about how the journey that we have been through and also the outlook for the future. But also around the products that we are offering to the market and also which markets we are targeting. The automotive market is, of course, a big part of our business, but we are also offering products to other parts of the industry. But first, the reason for Northvolt. Why does the world need a company like Northvolt? And for me, it's quite obvious. We do have a big challenge. We need to move from our dependency on fossil fuels to only depending on renewable energy sources. And to be able to do this, we need to be able to store energy in an efficient way. And this is, of course, where Northvolt comes in. And for us, it's important not only to supply battery cells and battery systems to the world, but also to do this as sustainable and as responsible as possible. And we are doing this in 3 different ways. Through sourcing, through our manufacturing, and through recycling. Starting off with the sourcing, when we are choosing suppliers, when we're choosing the mines where we're getting our raw materials, it's super important for us to choose the ones that are the most sustainable, both from an environmental perspective, but also from an ethical perspective. I will come back to this a little bit later, but we are depending heavily on our vertical integration. This is one of the more important strategic pillars that our company lays on. And the vertical integration means that we're doing a lot more in-house. We're getting closer to the source, so we have a much better control compared to competition where our raw materials are coming from. Second, manufacturing. Of course, we need to do this as efficiently as possible, but it will consume a lot of energy producing batteries. If you produce 1 kilowatt-hour of battery cell capacity, you need to put in roughly 80 times the amount of energy. So it's obvious that you need cheap and green energy to make this in a sustainable and a competitive way. And this is, of course, why we are placing our first gigafactory up in northern Sweden, in Skellefteå, where we can have good access of hydro energy. The third step, recycling. Once the batteries reach their end of life, we want to get them back to make new batteries from the raw material. All these 3 together means that we can slash the carbon footprint. We have a target of reaching 10 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalents per produced kilowatt hours. And that probably doesn't say much, but if you compare to competition, to the benchmark out there today, it's roughly 10 to 15 times that. So we can reduce a lot through these measures, through sourcing, manufacturing, and recycling. We're limiting our dependency on fresh resources through our recycling initiative. We have a target of having 50% of our raw material input to come from recycled batteries in 2030. So this is it's a very ambitious target, as the market is growing quite rapidly. So we will be depending on also getting our competitors' batteries back for recycling. This is we can do as long as it's a similar chemistry. And third, going beyond carbon, it's not only slashing the carbon footprint and reducing the use of virgin material, it's of course also, that I touched upon a little bit earlier, having ethical sourcing, looking at workers' rights, etc., that Jessica here before me was talking about as well. So, a few of the milestones that we've passed along the way here. I realize the text is pretty small, so you probably can't read it, but this is more for my memory, for my notes anyway. But I'll go through. I'll highlight a few of them. So I started here somewhere in 2018, just when we were about to start construction of Northvolt Labs, which is our R&D and pilot line in Västerås on Finnslätten. Roughly 2 years after, in 2020, we delivered our first battery cells from this factory to our automotive customers. Another important milestone that I think is going to be very interesting long term is our first acquisition of a company called Cuberg, a company based in California, who have developed a technology where we can increase the energy density with roughly 50% compared to the technology of today. So I think the target market for us with these type of cells initially is going to be aviation. The cells today, it's hard for us to reach the same cost level as the current cell technology with these type of cell. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do that long term, but initially it will be difficult, and we have the aviation industry who can pay a little bit extra for getting this extra energy and power density. Almost exactly 1 year ago, we produced our first battery cell with 100% recycled raw material. A very important milestone for us to prove that we actually can do this. It was material recycled by us from old batteries, and we produced this cell ourselves. And it's of course important to show that we can, a battery made out of recycled material can reach the same performance level and capacity as a cell produced with virgin material. I was touching a little bit about our vertical integration before. One example is our establishment of a joint venture together with Portuguese company Galp. This initiative is called Aurora, and it's a lithium conversion facility where we are establishing European supply of lithium hydroxide, which is one of the most important raw material input to our cathode production, which then goes into cell production. Also, last year, not with a big margin, a couple of hours margin, we were able to produce the first cell from our factory in Skellefteå. I don't know if you, the Swedish people here, if you listen to our CEO, Peter Karlsson, his sommarprat last year, he announced that one of the most important targets for us last year was to actually deliver cells from Skellefteå, from Northvolt 1. And we were able to do that, not with a big margin, but we did it. It is a bit, Peter, our dear CEO, he's very good at in setting very ambitious targets, but it's tough for us when he announced them publicly like that. So it makes us internally a bit sweat a bit, to be honest. But it also enables a big effort to actually achieve this, which we did. And also worth mentioning, we did start the first commercial deliveries from Skellefteå, from Northvolt 1 in May this year. Moving on, where we are right now. So as Anna mentioned in the introduction, it's 6 years ago since the company was founded. We have been able to raise a lot of money to make this happen, $8 billion so far. It is very expensive to build battery factories, so we will need this money. We will continue to raise money also to be able to do everything that we want to do. Why we were able to raise this amount of money is because we have been able to secure quite a lot of orders so far, $55 billion in order intake currently. So we do have a lot of batteries to deliver here the coming years. I also mentioned it initially, we're reaching close to 4,000 employees today. Also a very diverse employee base. We have more than 100 nationalities. I think it's roughly 115 today. It's a lot of people from Japan, Korea, with the experience to design and produce battery cells since before. We have a lot of people, ex-Tesla people, since our founders are ex-Tesla, so American people with the automotive experience, also Germans and French and etc. Also some Swedes, not a lot, but a few of us. These four are the strategic pillars on which we are building our company. First of all, we are European, we have European roots, we're focusing on the European market. We will, as you might have read in the news, we're looking to expand west to North America, but Europe is our home market, and this is really where we are starting. World's greenest battery, I've been talking about it a lot already, but sustainability and having a sustainable battery cell is the core of the company. Vertical integration, I will show a bit more on next slide, so I'll jump that one for now. And finally, industry-leading technology and industrialization platform. We need to be at the same level or better compared to competition when it comes to product performance, competitiveness, etc. The world's greenest battery, of course, we want to put that on the market, but we need to be competitive also on performance and cost to make this happen. The vertical integration, here it's more circular, but still, we're not in mines, or we are actually in mines, because we are delivering battery systems to our customer Epiroc, who are making mining equipment to dig up the minerals to produce our battery cells. So in one way, we are in mines. But we are actually starting in the preparation of the metals and the chemicals. One example is the JV we have with Galp, with the lithium conversion facility in Portugal that I mentioned initially. But where we really start in-house is the production of active material, which is the anode and cathode material. The cathode material we are producing in-house, and this active material then goes into electrode manufacturing, where we're coating on aluminum foil for the cathode side and copper foil on the anode side. It goes into cell assembly, putting it in a cell, filling electrolyte, putting the lid on, and then we are producing modules and packs out of these cells, so our customers are able to use them. Then we have the recycling, and I'll jump to the next one just to split this up a bit. The recycling is divided in these different process steps. We have the discharging. We need to make the battery pack that we get in from the market. We need to make that safe to handle. So we need to discharge it and preferably reuse the energy somewhere else. After it's safe to handle, we start to dismantle it. We dismantle a pack to a module, sometimes to cell, depending on the design of the pack. And the smaller parts, then the module or the cells, goes into a big crusher where we're crushing to smaller fractions and start to sort the material, getting the aluminum, the copper out from the electrode foils, getting steel and aluminum from the cell can, the separator, the electrolyte, everything goes away to other recyclers. And what we want to keep to ourselves is the mix of anode and cathode material, the active material. Which we refer to as the black mass. It's basically a black slurry, black powder, that we then put into the core of our process, which is the hydrometallurgical process, which is basically dissolving everything that is solvable in the black mass in acid. And what you get out, you leach out graphite and other impurities that we don't want to have. And then what we then get out is nickel, cobalt, manganese, lithium that we can then feed back into the active material production, and thus closing the loop. And this makes us quite unique. Our competitors normally don't produce active materials themselves, and our competitors normally don't do the recycling themselves. So doing this in-house, it makes a lot of sense, and it gives us definitely a competitive advantage. So the markets that we are addressing, I touched a little bit about automotive here initially. You heard Jessica speaking here before from Scania. She was mentioning the footprint from the batteries is an issue today. But with our initiatives that we're doing on sourcing, manufacturing, and recycling, as I showed here earlier, we can slash this and really reduce the carbon footprint from the supply chain. But automotive is not the only market we are addressing. We are also supplying battery systems to energy storage, so stationary energy storage for peak shaving, for storing energy at renewable energy sites like wind power farms, solar farms, etc. And then the market segment that I'm working with, which is industrial. I mentioned Epiroc here earlier, where we are supplying battery packs to help them electrify their mining equipment. But we are also helping to electrify excavators, big material handling equipment, etc. And we have actually been doing this for a while. Many might not know, but we started a production of battery packs for this type of market in Poland back in 2019. So this is something we've been doing for a few years already. And finally, we are supplying battery cells to portable equipment, smaller equipment, handheld tools or e-bikes, etc. And looking at the product offering, cells, yes, cylindrical prismatic cells. We're producing modules out of those cells. We're putting the modules into a pack where we are also including the power electronics, the BMS, the battery management system to be able to control the system. And this is what has been supplied since 2019 to our industrial customers. We are, to some extent, also doing complete solution. This is what we call a Voltpack mobile system, which is put in, which is used for replacing a diesel genset. Instead of producing energy at the construction site with a diesel genset to charge your electric excavator, you can use this one instead. Where we are right now, where we have established, we have quite a few places already. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll highlight a few of them. And I'll start with our site in Västerås, Northvolt Labs, we call this site. We have roughly 1,000 people working here today in Västerås. We're doing, in this facility here, we have a cell pilot production line where we're producing both active materials and cells. We have a lot of equipment for testing and validation to make sure that the cells reach our expectation in terms of quality and performance. And we have our recycling pilot in this site as well. Going 800 kilometers north, we are in Skellefteå, where, as I mentioned earlier, we have delivered commercial deliveries since May this year. We have a target of reaching 60 gigawatt hours of battery cell capacity in terms of production annually, which is equivalent of roughly 1 million electric vehicles in a year. Today we are at 16 gigawatt hours, so still we are getting there. The cells from this factory will be transported roughly 1,400 kilometers south to Gdansk, where we have Northvolt 2 meaning two in Polish. And here in Gdansk, we have been producing these systems since 2019. Obviously not in this site, and this is not ready yet, but in rented premises. And this is going to be our bigger site ready next year to start producing systems. Once we deliver the systems to our customers, hopefully they don't come back too soon. We want to have them out a couple of years, but once they reach end of life, we want to get them back for recycling. We have a JV with Hydrovolt with Norsk Hydro in Norway, where we have established this company to do the first three production steps of the recycling. So the discharging, the dismantling, and sorting, the crushing and sorting. Once we have the black mass from Hydrovolt, we ship it up to Skellefteå to go into the hydromet in gigascale, which will be operational in 2024. So this is where we have the black mass hydrometallurgical process. We are producing nickel, manganese, cobalt, lithium from this facility, feeding back to our cathode production and starting all over again. And we are making batteries made from batteries, made from batteries, made from batteries. I'm going to continue until you tell me to... yes, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter. Batteries made from batteries, made from batteries, made from batteries. That's a whole lot of batteries.
There's a lot of batteries, yes.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and your journey. You were going through the milestones earlier, and you mentioned a few of them. Q-Berg was one, when you first produced your first recycled battery cell from 100% renewable material, and some other examples, Aurora, for example. Looking back, is there any particular time in history that you think was really important for the future? Was there one point in time that made the rest come?
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, working with the business development and sales, there was a time in March 2019. I only been with the company for a bit more than half a year.
All right.
And we were getting high pressure on we need to get signed contracts from the customers. We need customers to commit to taking these volumes. Otherwise, the banks and the investors will not give us any money.
No.
But there was one morning in March. I don't remember exactly the date, but I think it was like 9th of March. And I
you do remember though.
And I was able to get my first signed contract from one of my customers. So that was super exciting. And at that time I was working with a portable market, portable segment. So I did sign one company, but of course it's compared to automotive, it's not big. But I signed that one.
Still was a first step.
It was the first for me. And then the afternoon, one of my colleagues working with automotive came in and had signed a deal. I think it was like 500 times my deal. So it was.
But still, both were
still
important.
Good, still good, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we changed the perspective then. What milestones are you looking forward that hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, I mean, I showed us the production or the construction of the Polish site in Gdańsk. I think that's one important milestone for us working with the industrial market segment, that we are starting to get modules and packs out of this site. For me, that's super important. But also we are. You saw the product that I was showing. It is the pack that we have. It's a fairly big pack. It doesn't fit all applications. We also want to bring new products to the market that can be a little bit more flexible and where we can also tap into a bigger market segment.
Reach more and reach wider.
Exactly. Yes.
Peter, thank you so much for coming and telling and sharing your story with us. Really, really appreciate it. Give him a round of applause and thank you for coming.
Thank you.